So hi, everybody. Welcome to the Secret Sauce Podcast, which is kind of a little sub-podcast of Texas de Peru. I'm Kevin Briggs, longtime healthcare and life sciences business leader, working, I don't want to say how many years I've done in healthcare and life sciences, but it's been a week or two. But for the last 14 years or so, I've been leading Texas de Peru. And for those of you who don't know what Texas de Peru does, is we get together and take teams of surgeons down to Peru every summer and do surgical care for folks who can't afford it. And we try to change a lot of lives, try to help a lot of people, and have a whole lot of fun doing it. And it's a blast. And if you're interested in what we're doing, I'll talk about that at the end of our podcast. But the secret sauce is all about, finding, talking about passion projects, talking about business best practices, the secret sauce, if you will, that we can share with young folks and other folks who are looking to know what helps other people be successful and move forward. So along that end, welcome to the Secret Sauce. And I have today as our guest, an extremely accomplished healthcare and life sciences professional who also shares parents who have the same wisdom in choosing first names for their kids. Please welcome Kevin Stevenson.
Hey, thanks,
Kevin. How are you?
I appreciate being on the show. And, I don't know how old you are, but I know growing up, being a child of the early 60s, it seemed like Kevin was a really popular name. So on average, I would have between 3 and 4 Kevins in every class. And so I was known as Kevin S throughout my school career. So I totally get it. But thanks for having me.
Well, I was known as Kevin the Stupid. So, I've got bad news for you on the Kevin name front. I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but Kevin is not a very nice name in France.
Really?
In fact, if you Google it, you'll see articles on it. It's described. It's kind of a cheap, low doofus kind of name. It's. I think one article described it as more of a diagnosis than an actual name.
That's great. Yeah.
And in fact, I went to Paris and I would say bonjour, je m'appelle Kevin, and they go.
Well, that's good to know. So I'll if and when we get to Paris, I'll make sure that I use a different name.
Well, there you go. You go incognito.
Exactly.
There you go. So Kevin, for the folks that don't know you, could you share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you're all about?
Yeah, I'd be glad to, Kevin. I appreciate that. Well, native of Dallas, and ended up down at Baylor University for my undergrad and grad degrees. And that's where I met my wife now of almost a little over 38 years. And so after grad school, it was the mid 80s and jobs were it was kind of tough to come by. My mom had been in electronics for a long time. And so she got me an in. And so my first career was in electronics distribution. And so did that for 4 years and got moved around a little bit. And so we happened to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I didn't enjoy what I was doing. And that's always been very important for me. And so we were real blessed that our Sunday school teacher just happened to be the president of what is now Baptist Health in Little Rock. And he said, I don't know what I have, but send me a resume. We'll see. He said, I know you're not happy. And so about 2 months later, I ended up starting the business development and marketing function for a freestanding rehabilitation hospital. It was part of Baptist.
Oh, wow.
I had no clue what I was doing. And so I go in there and they did a really good thing. They onboarded me very well. They rounded me through all of the therapies and with the physicians and with case management. And so I got a really good idea about what everybody did and really the goal for the patients. I had never thought about going to med school. I don't like blood, needles, or pain. And so why would I even think about going into healthcare? But I literally the first day, and I'll never forget this, it was 36 years ago. I was rounding with a physical therapist. There was a patient there who had a horrific car accident, had a terrible head injury. And I'm watching her trying to do therapy. And it was it was heartbreaking. Well, about 6 weeks later, I was blessed enough to watch her walk out. And so I really, and so I knew immediately, healthcare was where I was supposed to be. I was never going to be a direct patient caregiver, but I was able to use my business sense to make their jobs easier. And so that's really how I've kind of gone about my career. Yeah, I've been blessed, with the opportunities with a lot of great healthcare organizations, and I would be brought into, it was typically not a great situation, and so I'd be brought in to fix things, and I really enjoy doing that. And so business development and marketing roles started evolving into more operational roles, and that's kind of the path that I took. I was willing to take a couple of really interesting jobs within healthcare because, again, I hate to admit it, I would get bored after a couple of years, want to do something a little bit different. Unfortunately, recruiters would call. So not only I've been on the hospital and health system side, I've spent time with a large pharmaceutical organization in generic pharma strategy. I worked for a healthcare design build construction firm in strategy. And I also led an ACO and a physician network. But the whole time I loved walking the halls of the hospital, talking to the employees, talking to the docs, talking to the patients and their families. And so I had the opportunity to come back to Waco, back to the land of green and gold in Baylor about 6 years ago. Where I joined a large hospital here in a C-suite role, and it's been just it was a wonderful ride of almost 6 years. But about 6 weeks ago, decided to make a change and go out on my own because I really feel passionate about helping other healthcare professionals and healthcare organizations, be the best that they can be. And so I've always liked mentoring. I've done that throughout my career. And so I thought, this is a good time of my life. And we're blessed to be in a situation where I can do it, where I can do type of, some sort of advisory type, introductions and things like that. And so that's what I'm doing. But yeah, that's kind of me. I mentioned my wife. We have 2 daughters, one son-in-law, one grandson, and any minute now, literally a granddaughter will be born. So,
oh wow, wouldn't that be cool if we get the good news?
I get the call if we have
recording
really quick. You know what happened? As far as things that I'm passionate about, and I'm really passionate about.
Wait, Kevin, you're supposed to wait for me to ask you about the passion.
Sorry,
hey, Kevin, what are you passionate about?
Oh, well, thanks, Kevin. What a great segue. Again, really passionate about healthcare. Have always been, very community focused, and really wanted to make sure that wherever I was, we were able to provide the appropriate level of care for those folks, because the best healthcare is delivered locally, and as long as you can do that safely, why not? And you have the resource to do it. Why not do that so people don't have to travel to large cities? It's best to go through your treatment process and recovery with family and friends nearby.
Amen to that.
And so why not do that? But so really passionate about that. Really, as I said, really passionate about mentoring younger people, mid-range, mid-careerists. Have done that as well. But incredibly passionate about Baylor football and all Baylor sports. I got to say, very passionate about my faith as well.
There you go. It's funny. You said something that really two things that really kind of struck a chord with me. One on local care, and then other enabling others to be able to deliver care. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm never going to go to med school, et cetera, et cetera. But man, it's pretty cool sometimes when you get to help somebody else deliver care, and that's that's a large part of what we did at Texas de Peru, is just making it possible for people who can deliver care to deliver care. And then locally, it's a hard world out there for rural health clinics and critical access hospitals, And, you think of the tyranny of distance that that patients are having to go to anyway to get care locally or semi-locally. And then when these clinics close down, to go even further than that, this one clinic I was at, the nearest airport to the clinic I was doing some consulting work at was Amarillo, Texas, 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
And like all rural health clinics, they're, it's day by day.
But absolutely. And I've been blessed to have been in 6 states in my career. All of them having huge rural populations. In the hospitals where I was, we were really that tertiary hub for a lot of critical access hospitals. Yep. And so, being able to go out to those hospitals in, say, an Ord, Nebraska, or, out in Hamilton, Texas, and places like that, yep. Where, they're doing the best they can. They do good work, but they're limited at what they can do. And as you were saying, that, with reimbursement challenges and really just with overall capital challenges, workforce challenges, it's not really that much different than what we face in larger cities, but they don't, they've only got, maybe 10 or 20 people to choose from, and they've got to encourage those people. Hey, would you ever consider going and being an X-ray tech or something like that? And I'm a real big believer in telling the healthcare story, because it's a wonderful story. It's such a rewarding career, but you've got to start kids in middle school and say, look, you've got some opportunities to really make a difference in your community and feel good about doing that. And so, I think, and oftentimes the smaller towns do a much better job than we do here in the big cities, because they're always going to be the largest employer in town. They're going to be your economic engine.
And school.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of towns, if they don't have the hospital there, they lose their identity.
Yeah. Boy, you said a mouthful there. I can just picture what this place is like if and when that hospital closes. And I'm sure those are some pretty sad stories when you go to the communities where they have closed. In fact, I got to visit what was a thriving little rural health hospital is now just they occasionally have a nurse practitioner going there, about once every couple months or once every couple of weeks. But
one of the more interesting stories that I have from rural healthcare was up in the Texas Panhandle. And that was back when I was doing design, build, construction. And I would, just kind of go out and if I had a client out there, I'd go around and take a look at other opportunities. And so, and I can't remember the name of the town. It bordered New Mexico. And I pulled up to the front of the hospital because I found the blue H sign in town. I'm like, okay, you got a hospital. So I pulled up. There are no cars. And so I go, well, all right. So I walked in the front door, and there's a guy sweeping the floor. I said, hey, would you direct me to the administrator? He goes, oh, that's me. I said, oh, you got a minute? Yeah. And so come to find out, he had grown up in the town. His mom had been the chief nurse. He had actually mowed the yard and worked at the hospital growing up, went off to college, never intended to go into healthcare at all. Ended up coming back home and taking over the hospital. And I said, well, of course, I'm a numbers guy. I'm trying to, I'm asking him, I'm saying, okay, what's your average daily census? He goes, oh, I can't remember last time we had anybody in the hospital. Okay. How many ER visits do you get? He goes, oh, we might get maybe one a day. I'm like, okay. Do you have any outpatient? He goes, not really. And I said, well, how many doctors do you have? He goes, oh, we don't have any doctors. We have a nurse practitioner that will come. And our doctor that supervises the NP is 75 miles away. I said, can I ask you a question? And he said, yeah. He goes, and I said, why are you open? And he just does one of these. He goes, we've got a couple of big money oil families in town that want to make sure that we have a hospital just in case. And so they keep it funded. I said, okay. So, but there are a lot of stories like that out in rural healthcare.
And if you think of it, it kind of dawned on me working at one for a while. It's kind of like a family business.
Yeah, it is. It
I
really
mean,
is.
the board and the staff, they're all related to each other. They've all
Yeah.
grown up with each other. Everybody in a small town knows each other.
Hmm.
So it's very much it's a different kind of exercise. And
It is. But you know what? It's healthcare at its essence. I mean, it's
yeah,
that it's true primary care. It's truly taking care of your community as best as you can.
yeah.
And the best ones know their limitations and then can, develop good relationships with larger hospitals where they can transfer those patients as needed.
I didn't mean for us to talk about rural health today, but I'm sure
No.
glad we did.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Once again, the passion kind of jumped in.
Yeah. And, well, I can't tell you. Well, I can tell you because I speak a lot about it, but about passion projects being rocket fuel for your life and personal career. And for me, Texas de Peru has certainly been that. I mean,
Yeah.
in a sense, we're working at a rural health clinic in the highlands of Peru. It's although they have a handful of nurses, they have a doctor that does primary
Mhm.
care that floats in and out about a couple times a month. But it's teams like ours that come down and do surgeries are kind of the cherry on top. They see 30,000 patients a year.
That's incredible.
In
And you know what? I did look up, what you guys are doing, and blessings on y'all for doing what you do, because that's incredible work. That
Oh,
really is.
thank you. Hey, we're small potatoes compared to other folks, but and our volunteers give everything that they can, and it's
Yeah.
so sweet to watch. They deserve all the credit on it. We're not like Doctors Without Borders. Those boys, they get shot at. So
Yeah. Right.
we
Right.
we don't. Any rate. So if you had advice for younger folks, embarking on their careers, uh, or some things that you return to over and over again that are guiding principles from a career standpoint, secret sauce, if you will,
Hmm.
logo,
Yeah.
what would that be?
Well, Kevin, I'm so glad that you asked me beyond this, because it really made me kind of think about that, and really, in my head, I've known kind of where my focus has been throughout my career, but it really boils down to three P's. It's
Mm-hmm.
passion, it's priorities, and it's purpose. Okay. Number one, find something that you're passionate about. I was blessed to be able
Oh
to
yeah.
find, I was blessed to be able to find healthcare, and 36 years later, still love it, still, really am thankful for the impact that I've been able to make through other people, uh, throughout my career. So number one is going to be passion. Number two, priorities. Prioritize your faith, prioritize your family, prioritize your friends. uh, if Like I said, I love what I do, but it's not who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
so the first thing, stay grounded in your faith. You know,
Yeah.
Second thing, make sure what you're doing is benefiting and making your families better. They're the ones that are going to be with you when times are tough. I have a lot of opportunity here. Okay, we moved our kids around a ton of times when they were in elementary school. Our oldest daughter went to 6 different elementary schools. Recruiters would call. Dad would be bored. Dad's like, let's go someplace more fun. Let's go. Let's do all that. So the kids we moved them around a lot. But I said, wherever we are when the oldest starts middle school is where the youngest will finish high school. We were blessed to be back in North Texas in the DFW area, which
Yeah.
was good for us. And so within that 11-year period, I turned down a lot of great opportunities that would have cost us to move.
Yeah.
But I said, it's more important for me to, number one, be involved in my kids' lives and for them to have stability growing up. And
Yeah.
so priority, overshadowed anything in my career. But number three is that sense of purpose that goes back to, find something that makes a difference. And for me, it's been the ability to help patient caregivers do their jobs even better. And that translates across all industries and across, any career. If you find something you're passionate about, keep your priorities aligned, you find a sense of purpose, you're going to do well in your life.
Wise words. Thank you for sharing that, Kevin. Man, it has been an absolute treat to talk to you today. I'm really
Hey,
glad you joined us.
you too. Anytime I can talk to a fellow Kevin, I can't complain about that at all.
You
Even
are
though
such a
now I'm a little afraid about going to France, but you've kind of scared me, but it's been a real pleasure.
hey, the food's still good.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah,
That's true.
but it is good that you're such a Kevin after all. So but thank you again for doing this. This has been a whole lot of fun. So uh uh one more time, I want to say thank you to Kevin Stevenson for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing wisdom from a long and very successful career. If you're interested in Texas de Peru, if you're interested in helping or going on a mission like what we're doing, we need all sorts of clinical roles. So do give me a buzz. Follow this QR code in the link, www.texasdeperu.org. We also need non-clinical volunteers. You can be amazed at the contribution that non-clinical volunteers can make. Also, if you're a pre-med or pre-health student, we have special programs for you guys as well. Find out all about it here. Again, thank you, Kevin, and we'll see you next time.